so much for joining. Before we actually kick this off, I want to point out for those of you just logging in that we are going to take audience questions. So please be sure to utilize the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. Type in questions as they come up and we will address those at the conclusion. So I would now like to turn this over to Steven Saltzstein, Force Family Office's CEO.
Thank you, Callie, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us. I actually started my business career with Craig McCaw, who is the father of US Cellular. And, the opportunity at the time was so exponential for the US market. And it's quite interesting what FingerMotion is doing, how many different products that they can insert into their 900 million people that they cover. They have very impressive partners, including Pacific Life and Munich Re, and there's more, beyond that. And so with that said, it's been my pleasure to be working with Martin Shen, and it's my great pleasure to welcome Martin to Force Family Office. So the floor is yours, and thank you so much.
Well, great. Thanks, Stephen, Callie, and we're very happy to be here. Thanks for everyone for jumping on the call and learning a bit more about our business, FingerMotion. I'll just start off by sharing my screen here. And like Stephen says, my name is Martin Shen. I am the president and CEO of FingerMotion. And we have a very simple agenda today, really. We're just going to go through the core businesses, what it is that we do here at FingerMotion. Then we'll go through some of the milestones, our history, how do we get to where we are today. And then we'll look forward a little bit, some of the things that we're looking forward to doing, let's say in the next 6, 12, 24 months. I typically like to start off the presentation with a short little video, kind of a 30,000-foot view of our company. And then after the video, I will go a bit more into detail about our core businesses.
We are an evolving technology company with core competencies in providing mobile payment and recharge platform solutions. Our vision is to rapidly grow our user base and have this growth develop into an ecosystem of users with high engagement rates, utilizing its innovative applications. We offer telecommunications services. Our Pigeonhole's integrated system can seamlessly manage mobile recharge, data, subscription plans, and more. We accurately and efficiently manage online products and services of major telcos through our system, may it be B2B or B2C. Our SMS integrated platform offers SMS and MMS payment solutions, bridging clients to their user-based partnerships with major telcos. Our Sapientus platform utilizes data to power solutions for multiple industries not limited to finances and insurance by leveraging all the data that is collected into a predictive model that is able to isolate and extract consumer behavior and habits for future monetization. FingerMotion continues to aggressively invest in research and development. Our primary area of focus is the development of must-have application for consumers and businesses. Join us today.
Well, hopefully through that video, you can see that we're very well entrenched in the mobile phone arena and certainly within that mobile data space. We are considered a technology and data company. And really through the different businesses that we have, the top-up business, the SMS, and ultimately the big data, our goal really is to reach our mission, which is to improve people's lifestyle through technology and innovation. The idea is to innovate the products that are new and coming to the market, enhance the products that are already there, and hopefully through all the big data insights that we have to improve your overall lifestyle in general. So let's go through some of these core businesses that we have. We actually have 5 core businesses because we have a new one launching shortly, but I'll talk about that in a moment. But the 4 that we have right now are our top-up business in the telecommunications platform. We have an SMS and MMS business, which is small messaging. We have an RCS platform, which is Rich Communication Services. And the umbrella under which all of this falls is our big data platform, which we have marketed as a separate entity called Sapientus. So let's start first with telecommunication and our top-up business. So what is top-up? Top-up really is, if you're a phone consumer in China and you use up your phone, you use up minutes. You use the phone, use up the data. In essence, you use up your account. And you have to go and top up your account. In essence, you have to pay your account balance to keep your phone active. Now, how a Chinese phone consumer typically does this is they will go onto an e-commerce website. So I equated the North American example would be going on to Amazon to pay your Verizon bill. Now, why would you do this? Because in this instance, Amazon would give you a rebate, maybe a $5 or $10 coupon on your next purchase. And since you do those purchases on Amazon anyways, it doesn't hurt you. In our example, obviously, the e-commerce websites would be giants like Alibaba and JD.com. And you go there and you literally log on to the e-commerce portal, find your telco provider, be it China Mobile or China Unicom, and you top up your account balance there. Now, when we talk about China Mobile and China Unicom, as Steve mentioned at the beginning, you're looking at about 1.5 to 1.6 billion user or subscriber accounts. So there's a lot of payment processing. And what we do at FingerMotion is we are that intermediary. We connect that consumer and that e-commerce website to their telco, and we are the payment processors to handle the transaction. Now, like I said, there are a lot of user subscribers out there, 1.6 billion. When you get the account for China Mobile, the license to handle China Mobile and China Unicom, you don't necessarily get the whole country. You do work your way province by province. So we're about halfway through the province, but we do have the license, and we're probably 1 in 10 different companies that have license to handle these transactions. The telcos obviously are very happy with our platform. It's a very robust platform, and they're happy because 1, they get paid, but 2, their customers get their accounts activated very quickly with very few failures and very few drop-offs. So because of the reliability of that top-up business, the telcos introduced a second business to us, which is SMS or MMS messaging, which is short messaging service. And the use of SMS or text messaging, really, the way we see it, is still quite a prevalent way in China for different companies to market their wares. So what the telcos would provide to us is, let's say, discounted SMS bundles, 100,000 or 200,000 messages. And they give those bundles to us, and we pass these on to our corporate partners, be it China Eastern Airlines or hotel chains or car dealerships or what have you. But the benefit that we have in the back end is we have a governmental review process. Because as you can imagine, in China, you can't just send out spam, you can't send out anything anti-government or any propaganda. So you need that governmental review process in the back end, and we have it, and we can provide that very quickly. So if, let's say, Chinese Eastern Airlines had a promotion that they want to push out very quickly, they would take advantage of that discounted bundle that we can afford them. And then they would have the quick review process in the back end as well that makes sure that they get their message out very quickly and efficiently to their customers. Now, those two businesses, the top-up business and the SMS, currently make up the bulk of our revenue. And on the fiscal 2022, it was just shy of $23 million. When our Q comes out, I think it's just past the new year, around mid-January, you'll see that we are in the third quarter, really boosted up our revenue because we had some funding that came in recently. Now, given the success of the first two businesses, we also dipped our toe into another business called RCS, or Rich Communication Services. And we've kind of seen this before actually in North America in the guise of MMS, which is multimedia messaging services. Now, these are larger messages, but I don't think the infrastructure was in place here in North America to handle these larger messages. And what the RCS platform does is that it takes advantage of that 5G infrastructure. And as many of you know, China is probably one of the world leaders in building out that 5G infrastructure. And what that infrastructure will allow is to handle more complex transactions, given that increased bandwidth. So one of the examples that we like to use is Nike. Let's say they want to push out a shoe that they wanted to sell. Historically, what they would do is they would send their authorized customer lists a text message. And if the customer wanted to take advantage of that promotion, they would jump off onto the Nike website and buy the shoe, or they jump off onto the Nike app and buy the shoe. Now, what the RCS platform would allow them to do is they would receive that message, and this time it might be a massive, marketing blitz, a really large video file, something that really would, entice the customer to take advantage of the promotion. And if they wanted to do, they could stay on that RCS platform, press a button, and conduct that transaction right then and there, without having to jump off onto an app and without having to jump off onto any other website. Now, this is important, obviously, for the corporation, because it gets their transaction done right away. But it's also important for the telcos as well, because their sole goal is to keep as many users on their platform at a particular time without having to jump off. Now, that is still working through some of the beta trials to make sure that that platform works, but we know that it should integrate very smoothly because of our connections with the telcos. Now, finally, given our success and our reliability with the top-up, and obviously the efficiency in which we can get our SMS messaging out and our branching off into the RCS platform, the telcos then provided us the license to go into their telco facilities and study their user data. As I mentioned off the top, we're looking at a potential user subscriber base of about 1.5 to 1.6 billion user accounts. So there's a lot of data that we can take a look at and study. But there's two important points that we always like to raise. The first one is we don't own the data. The ownership of the data is continued to be retained by the telcos themselves. So some of you might remember Facebook and selling their information to companies like Cambridge Analytica. That wouldn't happen in this instance because we don't own the data. We just have the license to go in and study it. The second thing is the data that we do have access to has already been scrubbed for anonymity. So there's no personal information on there. What we might have is we have an account number, maybe a phone number, but that's it. And then with that information, we have imputed about 1,000 to 2,000 different demographic data points to learn about human behavior and human nature. And that's really what builds up our data analytics platform. So one of the examples, again, that we like to use here is a driver in China, for example. Let's say I'm a 50-year-old man and I drive to and from work, 9 to 5, only 5 miles a day. And it's very regular, very safe, very residential roads, as opposed to the same demographic 50-year-old man, but I drive 100 miles a day, all hours of the day, highways, back alleys, what have you. Now that's a lot of information, but do you think that that dichotomy of information would be valuable to somebody? We think so. Now, having access to all this information is good, but one of the things that our teams always have thought about it from the very beginning was that having access to this information is not worth very much if you don't know what to do with it. So what did? We looked at different areas and different avenues where we could use this information, be it healthcare or be it financial services, but we ultimately landed on insurtech. Now you go back to that driving example. Do you think that that dichotomy of information would be valuable to, let's say, the auto division of an insurance company? No, we think so, because ultimately, what does an insurance company want to do? They want to have a low cost or no claim portfolio. So before we get too far into it, let's go through some of the milestones of our company. Again, how we kind of got to where we are today. As you saw at the top, one of the slides said we kind of started in 2016, really got going in earnest in 2018 with our first licensing for the top-up. But very quickly, you'll see here that within 6 months to a year, we already had about $70 million of gross transactional value going through our system. Mind you, that's not revenue. That's just the dollars that are flowing through the system that we're handling. And we also had 150 million different SMS transactions go through our system within 6 months. So if you look at it, when we started in 2018, it all kicked off with our tendering and our licensing and getting the license for the China Unicom top-up business. But very quickly, within a few months, we had proposed to them our big data angle, and they already became our big data partner because they understood the value of the information that we could potentially pull from studying their user data. Now, I talk a lot about our relationship with the telcos, but we also have a good relationship with the e-commerce side as well. The front-facing, let's say, UI that the consumers would have. And so we opened up an online store with Pinduoduo, one of the largest e-commerce companies in China. And what that really allows is that PDD user to go online, and if they see China Mobile or China Unicom, which is their telco provider, they can log on and top up their account via that way. In 2019, we, of course, had China Mobile and China Telecom come on. And that's where we are now covering the breadth of the mobile users within China. We, of course, started our SMS business as well. Again, that's the discounted bundles where we're selling the discounted bundles with that review process to our corporate partners. In the middle of the year, you can see that China Mobile also became our big data partner very quickly after signing on with the top-up business, again, seeing the value of the information that we can provide. And then we continue with our e-commerce presence by getting flagship stores, both in Yunnan and Sichuan. In 2020, obviously, Tmall, or Alibaba's e-commerce website, signed on board. So again, a lot more customers. Everyone knows Alibaba here. Everyone knows the size of their reach. And having that portal to access for their consumers is very important. Again, gives us access to more users. We, of course, launched Sapientus, which is our big data arm. Now we, understanding all the information that we're getting, let's say through China Unicom and China Mobile, now we knew the value proposition of what that could be. So we thought that it'd be very wise of us to start our own division, and we just relabeled it Sapientus. Of course, a lot of you know that we started off in the OTC market and kind of worked our way up. And then through 2020, we were able to reach the top tier of the OTCQX. And then towards the end of 2020 was one of our big milestones, was when Pacific Life Re signed on board. And what that really does is that validates the data that we're procuring for the InsurTech side. They saw the information that we're providing, and they wanted to obviously augment their portfolios with the data that we had. And so that was a big important step for us to get that validation from Pacific Life Re. And that validation continues through 2021 with Happy Life Re, and then Munich Re signing on board, one of the largest reinsurance companies in the world. Again, seeing the value proposition that we had. Of course, towards the end of 2021, we uplisted finally to the NASDAQ. Obviously, I was very proud of our team to getting that done. What that really does is that provides increased, obviously, regulatory requirements, regular reporting, more governance, but it really gives more reliance to the investors, knowing that our information and everything that we're providing is obviously governed by NASDAQ and the SEC, and more eyeballs on our company, which is always good. So where does that take us? Future growth. As I mentioned, being on NASDAQ again, gives us more eyeballs, more liquidity, hopefully, and certainly access to more funding. And where would that funding go? That funding will go to, of course, building up our top-up and our SMS business, currently our fundamental businesses. The top-up business is somewhat capital intensive because to handle those transactions as consumers go onto the e-commerce website, there has to be a capital balance there to move that money back and forth with the telcos. So there has to be some capital there. Similar with the SMS side, we have to buy those bundles first, and we have to pass that along to our customers before we get reimbursed after their campaign is over. So there are some capital needs, and those continue to grow as we get more funding. But where else would we put that funding? Well, we have a few things in the short term, midterm, and long term. In the short term, we have a new device protection plan, which is that fifth pillar I mentioned at the very beginning. I'll go into a bit more detail on that in a bit. In the midterm, we'll continue to build out that RCS platform because we're excited. We think that that's the way the future of transactional e-commerce is going to occur, and we're going to continue to build that out. And obviously, in the long term, the big data research in Sapientus will always continue to grow. So in the short term, mobile protection plan or device protection plan, we're very excited about this. It has already been launched. And what we've done is we've partnered up with a New York Stock Exchange listed insurance company, probably the largest insurance company in the world in terms of device protection. And they've been trying to get into the Chinese market for the better part of a decade. And one of the avenues that we thought was best to get them in there, to help them in, was through device protection. And so they're the underwriters for this plan. And the idea is that they will work with the telcos. And the device protection really is just very similar to AppleCare, but it hasn't existed in any cohesive format in China until we brought it in there. And one of the interesting ways that the telcos have decided to bring this in was to build it into the payment plans of the phones. So as the phone consumers move from 3G and 4G to 5G phones, they will acquire new phones and subscribe to new plans. And those, let's say, $30, $40 plans that we have here in North America, part of that $30 or $40 will go in to cover the mobile protection plan that we have instituted, which is in essence forms almost like a revenue in perpetuity for us. So we're very excited about what this can do, obviously, to our income statement. Some of the numbers that the telcos have provided, these aren't even our numbers, was that they suspect, they predict about 1 million subscribers a month. So once it kicks off, they'll have 1 million subscribers, and that just kind of moves from month to month. And then the following month, there'll be another million, and the following month, another million. So it just continues to grow as these new phone consumers come on board and upgrade their phones. So we're very excited about that coming on board. In the midterm, we'll continue to build out the RCS platform, that rich communication services platform that I mentioned. This, in essence, is a white label platform, just so you understand how it works. We build out the platform because of obviously our connections and our interactions with the telcos. What the corporations can do is they can come in and bring in their graphic designers or their marketers or whatever, build out that RCS platform, whatever, however they want to, and then push that out to their consumers. And what that does is obviously make sure that their consumers can conduct the transactions very quickly, very efficiently, but then they also know that the transactions are going to happen very efficiently because of our relationships with the telcos, how closely tied we are with them, and making sure that all the connections work efficiently. So again, we'll continue to build that out and hopefully launch that within the calendar 2023. And finally, obviously, our big data arm, Sapientus. We have recently announced news that both Pacific Life Re and Munich Re have moved into phase 2, which is a very developmental phase and one phase short of really driving the revenues that would occur when we actually get into, let's say, revenue sharing or profit sharing when consumers come on board. What we've done is we built out these research labs. So we have our research data scientists, and we actually have some actuaries on our team, and they work hand in hand with the reinsurance companies' actuaries. And so the idea is that they work collaboratively, and what they can do is they can just work more efficiently and make sure that they get the results that they want. So we're very excited, obviously, about where that's going to head with the insurtech market. That's absolutely huge, as you can see from the numbers here. So we have a lot to look forward to there. Now, we look at Sapientus in terms of data for the insurtech, but one of the beauties of the algorithms that we have, both in top-up and in the data work that we're doing, is that it is migratable to different industries. It doesn't have to be just insurtech. The idea of providing a risk rating very quickly for people that are potential insurance companies, but also that could apply itself into financial services. So microlending, if someone was going to come on board and wanted to get some sort of a short-term loan or something, if we have that risk rating, understanding their human behavior and being able to add that information to, let's say, whatever their financial file says, that is another market that we can move to. So the idea is that we build out these algorithms to not only work in a particular industry, let's say insurance, but also healthcare, financial services, or what have you. So we'll see where that can take us. Similarly, we know that we are in China, and we're very grateful that that's a massive playground and provides a lot of information for us. But we also want to make sure that the algorithms are migratable to different jurisdictions as well. So we look at different areas, primarily right now, Southeast Asia, be it Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, where they have similar telco systems that we can move our system into. But ultimately, we also look out west, perhaps Europe, perhaps North America. But that's a little ways down the road. But it's always thinking in the back of our head that it's something that we can do. So really quickly, again, I'll just go through our financial results. As I mentioned, at the end of fiscal 2022, we're just shy of $23 million. Our Q is coming out just after the new year, and you'll see some significant revenue growth there, not just in terms of growth of the revenue, but growth of the profit margin as well. So that's it. That's a bit about our company. I thank you very much for taking time and listening. And Callie, maybe I hand it back to you to see if there's any questions out there.
There are questions. I'm going to ask you to stop sharing your screen for a moment. And let's go ahead straight to the question. So do you think the Asian cell market will mature and the top-up business will go away? That seems to be what happened in the US.
I don't see that happening right now. That's a very good question. What we found in industries in the past within China is that once it gets well entrenched within society, the way the government kind of looks at things is that if it works well, and let's say it doesn't ruffle any feathers, and it's something that their citizens can rely on, then they continue to keep using it. And obviously, with the onset of 5G phones, this seems to be a system that works very well for them. So we're very comfortable with the fact that we can kind of grow with the system as it continues to grow in that direction. And I don't imagine it will go anywhere anytime soon. If it does, then obviously we have our different pillars of business that we can move to, primarily the big data and certainly the device protection as well.
And what % of your revenue is corporate versus retail consumer?
So the retail consumer side would probably be the top-up side. And what happens, and let's say the retail is SMS for now, what typically happens is our team will be looking at what is making, let's say, a better margin. So if the SMS bundles are being offered at a very cheap rate, we'll use some of that capital and acquire those SMS bundles and move it there. If they're not so cheap, we'll just move the capital into keeping our deposit balance with the e-commerce higher and then conduct more transactions there. So it's very difficult to say which was which. I think currently we've moved more towards the top up because the SMS maybe is not as profitable, maybe is not as attractive to our corporate partners for now. So right now it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 70-30 on the top up side for the retail side. But again, that's always in flux and could change.
Right. And of your sticking with the revenue questions, of the 4 revenue streams, would you expect to make, which one would you expect to make the greatest contribution to the bottom line over the next 3 years?
Oh, our data side. It's very difficult to obviously predict where the data arm is going to take us, but just seeing the potential of what that information can provide, the business that it could bring in, I can only imagine that what our data side and wherever we go with that, obviously it's insurance right now. I think that will be the largest revenue stream for us. The device protection, which is brand new launch to us, the potential numbers that the telcos gave us also gives some skyrocketing revenues as well. And so those 2 businesses potentially could dwarf what we're doing right now on the top of an SMS. So it's very hard to say. But if you ask me 3 years down the road where we think we will be, I think our data side, our Sapientis company division will be the one that will be the leader in terms of revenue streams.
Great. And speaking of data, what is your data telling you about the health of the Chinese economy?
What is our data telling? Well, I think it's showing that certainly after COVID, there's a lot more people that are coming back out into the fold. Business, I would say, is very restrictive. The government is very restrictive on what its citizens can do. So on the corporate side, things still move along. You'll see that in our own results for our company, we had a little bit of a downtick towards the end of which would be our Q4 last year because of the lockdowns that happened. We can't get into our offices to conduct our normal customer service type stuff. So there is some effect there. But I think that a lot of that on the corporate side is picking up. And now that it seems that the government might be a bit more lenient and opening up a little bit for the people, hopefully that economy will start picking up as well. So who knows? We'll leave the government stuff to the government people.
Is Finger Motion an American company?
Yes, we are. We are domiciled in Delaware. So we are a domestic filer on NASDAQ, which obviously simplifies a lot of other things. And our office is actually in New York City, but we are obviously an online company. And we have a number of actuaries in Pennsylvania. We have some in Hong Kong. Obviously, all the customer service people have to be in China because all the transactions happen there. But our board of directors all reside in Australia, Canada, and Singapore. And so we are very much, let's say, a Western company, but just all our operations are within China for now.
Thank you. And can you talk about how FingerMotion has become such a trusted partner with the telecom in China?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think part of it obviously is you still have to tender and you still have to win these licenses, let's say for the top up and the data side. But once you show that you have the ability to conduct these transactions, like I mentioned with the top up, there's very few failures, very few drop offs. So when you go and you log on and your consumers get their top up account right away, that makes the telcos happy. China Mobile and China Unicom, we would have to guess, are somewhat state-owned companies anyways. So when the government sees that their citizens have a system that works reliably for them, that just builds up the trust. And so when that system works, that's when they provide secondary services like the SMS business. And then when we go into the data side, we still had to tender and get the license to go into the data side. But again, the value proposition that they see from what we could do for them and the trust that we built up before with the reliability and all that really affords our ability to move forward with different ventures. And that's really how it all works. We don't ruffle any feathers. You know, I'm not going to be out there like Jack Ma making crazy political comments or anything like that. We just want to work and make sure that their citizens are happy and their customers are happy. And I think that helps us keep the trustworthiness with the different companies.
Great. And obviously the Chinese market is huge, but are you looking at using this platform in other markets beyond China?
Yeah. Just like I mentioned at the end of it, the whole idea of everything that we're trying to build is always to be migratable and exportable. The idea is that it doesn't have to be insurtech. We just found that might be the first avenue that we dip our toe into. And so moving away from just that and looking, like I mentioned, the idea of micro lending and just kind of helping out against society in general for people that can't get access to funding, I think is a great something that we can do because our risk rating ability, understanding that human behavior and adding that kind of information to whatever financial file someone might have, I think is of value. But similarly, we also want to move outside of China. Now, China is a massive playground. So what it can do with the information that we procure is that it sets maybe benchmarks for different things, because there's, in some sense, all human nature is similar. But once you move and have that ability to move outside, you can see the differences in people. You can see the differences in culture and country and all that sort of stuff. And so we have already been in talks with different countries, starting off in Southeast Asia, Vietnam and Thailand and Indonesia, somewhere in those countries, because the cell phone, the telcos are similar in the way they operate. But the idea, of course, is to expand everything that we do, be it Southeast Asia, be it Europe, be it North America. And that's always going to be a goal for us as we move forward.
Great, thank you. And what do you think about the metaverse? Is it being adopted in Asia, and could it potentially be a revenue stream for you?
We've actually talked about this. It's just certainly within management, the whole idea of metaverse. I think our data angles might be able to play into that. In the whole Web 3.0, it's just fascinating to me. Blockchain as well. I think that obviously with the crypto issues, that's something totally different. But I think the idea behind blockchain and being decentralized control, where it's controlled by the masses, is a fascinating idea. And the whole idea of AI and metaverse and moving into that sort of realm is fascinating. And obviously that's something that we've talked about and we're certainly going to look into. One of the things that I think is very important for our company is make sure that our foundation is strong first. You know, we're going to build up what we know we can do before we start branching into things that we are obviously interested in, but we're not sure how to attack those angles yet. But yeah, no, they're very interesting and certainly something that as a tech company, we'll continue to look at.
Great. And can you explain a little bit further about the RCS, how it works?
Yeah, it really is just like I mentioned, it's just a platform that companies can use. And one of the, I think the benefits of having the RCS platform is that it conducts the transactions very quickly for that corporate partner. So the idea is that they have this platform that it's a bit like an app almost. And so the customer can come onto this platform and then they'll receive whatever promotional advertising information that they have, and then they can see it right then and there and then conduct the transactions right then and there. The advantage of having the RCS platform with us is that we are already connected with the telcos, right? So the transaction is going to happen right away. Nothing much is going to happen. We are payment processors. We can handle that side of everything as well. So that's really a very simple idea. And they would just come in and design whatever platform that they want. We are just I guess, the connector of that platform to the telcos and the e-commerce companies to make sure that the payment processing happens.
Great. And with so much new on the horizon, can you talk a little bit about your stock and where it is currently and why it's hasn't performed so well recently?
That's another very good question. I think there's been some stock play in the market, but with our stock, it's kind of risen. There's a few days where it had a crazy amount of action in the stock price. So there's two angles from management's point of view that we have to look at. We have to look at obviously where our stock price is, but also how our fundamentals of our company is performing. And one of the reasons of doing things like this is to get people aware of not only the company, but where we are fundamentally, where we can build our revenue, where our income statement is, where our balance sheet is. And I think that is equally important, if not as important, as what's happening with the stock price. The market always has people out there that are going to be perhaps manipulating the price or doing whatever to make sure that they make their money. And we always can't control what happens on the market side. We can control what's happening with building the company. And what I really want to do is make sure that people see the growth potential within our company, as our fundamental businesses grow. And that's really what we can do as a company to make sure that people are aware of us and what we're doing.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And thank you everyone in the audience for all of the questions. If you want further dialogue, further questions that come up, an introduction to Martin, everyone out there has my email address. I'm happy to facilitate that. And in turn, he will have your information as well. So before we actually officially close out, Martin, I'm going to turn it over to you for any final words.
No, I just want to say thank you for everyone for jumping on board. We're interested always in telling our story. So if you want to reach out, please feel free to do that. But other than that, thank you, everyone. And I guess I wish everyone a very happy holidays, very Merry Christmas. And thank you again.
Great job, Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone have a great day.